Hello, this is Jim Ware. I'm speaking today with Emily Webster, who's head of media architecture at ESI Design. Emily, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Well, and we're really excited about the article you've prepared for Work&Place, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it. Could you start by just telling us a little bit about what you mean or what ESI Design means by media architecture? What
Sure.
is it?
Well, ESI Design is a 40-year-old experience design firm. We started out doing children's museums and other institutions, and because of the way that we were able to weave a story into the built environment, we began to do that kind of work for all sorts of clients. So we do that still for museums and institutions, but we also have extended that into doing corporate campuses, commercial real estate properties and urban development, and a lot of different spaces where people need to move through a space and understand a story as they sort of move through the space, see a story unfold as they move through a space. And so what we mean by media architecture is the way that the digital and the physical are woven together in a space. I mean, when you think about the way the world is evolving today with how much technology everybody expects, it's not surprising that architecture needs this layer of technology integrated into it as well. But there's a lot of ways that that's happened really abrasively and aggressively. You know, for example, there are TVs in elevators that are just sort of blasting news out at you. There's
Many times.
Yeah, I mean, almost everywhere you go, there's a TV that has some kind of news feed or multiple news feeds coming up. And so there's just a lot of visual noise that can be created when you talk about having digital in an environment. And so we're really eager to think about how you can curate the digital experience just as you would curate the materials that you use in building a traditional building. So we think about technology as another architectural material in the tool set or in the palette, what you can use to design a building. And by having this digital layer integrated into the architecture, you now have an ability to have some dynamism and some flexibility in terms of what the building might say on any given day. So media architecture to us is really how you would integrate the digital into the built environment.
Well, it's absolutely fascinating, and people who read the article will see some images and some videos of what you're talking about. But I think it's important to recognize from the very beginning, as you say in the article, you're not just talking about TV screens on a blank wall. You're talking about an entire wall or an entire space being surrounded with dynamic video.
Right, yeah, I think we actually, if you look at some of the interventions and installations that we have done and you think of a TV, then I think we haven't done our job very well. We like to think about digital as, we like to look at a building and really see a blank canvas and then think about where we might need some specific areas of focus, where a visitor that's moving through the space should have their attention drawn to. When we do experience design at ESI Design, we really like to start from the visitor experience and think about how somebody moves through the space, what they're going to need to see and do along their journey from point A to point B, and then design things that really flow into their journey rather than sort of distract or disrupt that path. So it's really augmenting experiences and making sure that people have something interesting and dynamic that they can see. And that, again, changes depending on whether we're talking about a corporate environment where a brand needs to talk about their corporate story, or in the example of a lobby of a commercial building, we would have some interventions that really make it feel like the building itself has a brand and an identity and really fits in its neighborhood, but also has its own identity within the neighborhood. It kind of stands out as its own iconic element and has its own features. So we really like to think about how the digital can be this layer of focus for visitors as they move through the space.
Yeah. Well, I hope this conversation has gotten people interested in reading the article and seeing some of the images and watching some of those videos. And I hope, I'm quite sure they will find it as interesting and exciting and innovative as I do. And thank you again for both sharing the article with us and for taking the time to talk to me today. It's
Thank you.
a
It's really
delight.
been exciting. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.